Hello and welcome to the Emmy Awards. I'm your host, Emmy Cardinale, and this is my podcast where I talk about what I've been watching or rewatching once a week-ish. If this is the first episode of mine that you stumble upon and you enjoy it, please feel free to follow me wherever you listen to podcasts so you can get notified when I upload a new episode. I accidentally fell behind. It's been a couple weeks now since I recorded a podcast. So basically it was my birthday and then I had a trip planned and I got really busy. As the title suggests, this episode is going to be me catching up on Love Island, like my thoughts. It's been a hot minute since I podcasted, so a lot's happened on Love Island because new episodes come out every day-ish. Not every day, but like almost every day. So there's a lot to talk about in the 2 weeks that I missed. I also want to talk about the Ultimatum Queer Love Season 2. I want to talk about that briefly. I'm going to talk about Love Island first, and then I'll get into the Ultimatum Queer Love, so if there's time. But I'm really sorry for missing a couple weeks. I am recording this Sunday night, so I anticipate it going out sometime Monday evening, maybe Tuesday at the latest. And then I'm going to try to get back into regularly scheduled programming. Now, Big Brother starts soon, so that's going to heavily influence my schedule. I'm going to record on Thursdays, kind of, at the beginning of each Big Brother week. For the first week of Big Brother, I don't know yet. Play it by ear. But that's starting soon. I will be doing structured recaps on that. I am still currently working on my Yellow Jackets Season 3 deep dive. No, my goal is to get it out by the end of the month. I think I can maybe actually, for real, get it recorded before Big Brother starts, which is my goal, because I feel like when Big Brother starts, I will have less time to do the prep and recording. The editing shouldn't take me too long, so once I've gotten the recording done fully, I'm just like, anyways. Sorry I've been such a mess. Thanks for sticking by me if you enjoyed it. So I'm gonna talk first. That made no sense. Thank you so much for sticking through. If you enjoy the podcast, it really does mean a lot. So I'm gonna talk first about Love Island. Boy, do I have a lot to say. I do not even remember where I last left off on Love Island, but a lot's happened. I think the last time I spoke, Pepe had come in and it was like that group of people. So it's been a hot minute since I talked about Love Island. I think the first thing I want to open with is the Sierra Nick of it all. So basically, Nick and Alandria, I don't know if I talked about this in my last episode, but they got dumped at Casa. I think this hadn't happened yet. Nick Alandria hadn't happened yet, but basically they each got dumped at Casa, so then they kind of got set up together and they explored a little bit, but then when they all reunited, Nick went back to Sierra and Alandria wanted to go back to Taylor, but Taylor didn't really want to be with her. But like Nick Alandria was kind of dead at the scene, right? Okay. Which I have to be honest, maybe I just feel like, and this is no hate to people who watch Love Island in a different way than I do, but I think just my introduction to reality TV was the Bachelor franchise, and I learned very early on not to get attached to the couples, or like I just don't ship people, quote unquote, on reality TV because I find it odd. Like there are very few couples that I'm like, I ship it, and even when I ship it, it's not like the way I ship a fictional character. It's like I think they're a cute couple and I'm rooting for their success, but always in the back of my mind being like, I know they're straight. Like I feel like I have a different relationship to consuming Love Island, and it is my first season, but I just like I wasn't really rooting for Nick Alandria, not because I don't think they'd be cute together, but because I'm like, if they want to get together, they'll get together. Why am I shipping these two people? And I know that's the whole thing of like Love Island is wanting to put people together, and there was a moment where America could put people with other people. Like I get that that's like the show. I'm just not that kind of viewer of reality TV, I fear. So I was never super on board, not again because I am against them or I don't think that they have chemistry and would be cute together. I'm like, if they want to be together, they'll be together. Why am I shipping these real life people? Yes, it's a TV show, but also they're real life people. It's like weird to me. So I wasn't rooting for Nick Alandria, not because I have anything against them, but because I was like, well, Nick is coupled up with Sierra and he doesn't really seem to be interested enough in Alandria to ditch Sierra at the minimum, or he likes Sierra more. Like, I was like, why am I going to be rooting for a couple? I don't know if that makes any sense. And maybe that is just exposes that I'm new to Love Island and this is not really that I'm consuming it a different way than the general public does. And again, I'm not trying to act like holier than thou or saying it that I'm consuming it better. I think I just have a different relationship to reality TV and dating shows. So for me, if they want to be together, they'll be together. Why am I like rooting them on? Why am I shipping these two people? He wants to be with Sierra. Alandria was single. It was like, it's not even like, let's say in a post-Casa, they get back to the villa. I was about to say mansion. Oh, you can tell that I'm come from The Bachelor. Anyways, let's say after Casa, they each went back to their respective people and be like, okay, whatever, they were with people. Alandria was single. And like, yes, Sierra and Nick were like the more serious of the couples, but it just like, it didn't feel to me like he was interested enough. And maybe he was thinking strategically and like in a strategic, would it have been kind of stupid of Nick if he didn't know if Alandria, it's not like Alandria was like all in on him, like, yeah, I think you're the person I want to pursue, and then he had like the option. Like, it wasn't like a Bella-A situation where she was like, I'm only interested in you, and he was like between people. Maybe that would be different. Maybe he was thinking strategically. He's like, I know that Sierra is only interested in me. She didn't even really explore with the guy that the bombshell she got paired up with, Elon or whatever his name is. Maybe he was just thinking of like a bird's eye view. It is a competition. They do get money at the end. Maybe he was thinking like, it would look worse for me. It's too risky. Alandria and I aren't solid enough for me to ditch Sierra. I don't know. But for all those reasons, the fact that Nick it didn't seem like he cared enough to, like, I'm not going to root for a couple unless they're like willing to risk it all. Like, if Nick was like all in on, if he was like, you know what, Alandria, I'm really interested in you. And I know that I have a good thing going with Sierra, but the whole point is to explore it. And I'm going to, like, if he approached it differently, if he had some like, maybe I would feel differently. But like, I am like, okay, they have chemistry, they get along. Why am I shipping these people? He's not really putting in any kind of fight to be with her. So anyways, so like that's kind of where that goes. Taylor and Alandria, for a while it's a little bit unsure, but then Taylor eventually chooses Clark, the bombshell who came in, which honestly, after they got back from Casa Amor, I was like, Taylor and Alandria are like for sure done, because he doesn't even seem to give a shit that she's with Nick. Like, I was like, he does not like you. But anyways, so like Alandria was kind of up in the air, right, for a little while. And then there was a moment where, okay, this really pissed me off. Sorry, I'm trying to go chronologically, but I want to talk about the Sierra getting kicked off thing. But I feel like it's all connected, because basically, then there was a moment where, speaking of Alandria too, she's involved in this. Basically, during Casa Amor, this guy named Chris and Shelly were like paired up, right? But then Huda was interested in him as well. He came back from Casa. Shelly and Ace were kind of like, oh, that was a whole other thing. Shelly and Ace, I'll get to that in a second. But anyways, there was this whole thing where like Huda was pursuing Chris and like Shelly didn't like that. And it came out in like they were sending postcards, which was just like anonymous messages, although some people claimed it. Anyways, it became this thing where a lot of people were, like, they kind of piled onto Huda and they were like, it's kind of weird how you're pursuing Chris. Whatever. I really don't care about that. The point is, and maybe I'm wrong, but this is just the way I perceived it. Basically, the girls got a lot of backlash because of the Huda thing. Shelly, Alandria, and Sierra got a lot of backlash on social media because they were kind of viewed as mean girls in the whole way they approached the Huda, Chris, Shelly of it all, right? So because of that, and this is just, again, how it happened on my algorithms, so maybe people were talking about the Sierra thing before, but it seemed like people were like starting to turn on Sierra online, and because of that, this surfaced. Basically, she multiple times said a slur, an anti-Asian slur, in a very derogatory way. Not that I think saying a slur if you're not saying it like a slur within itself is derogatory, but she literally said it in reference to like, I'm getting Botox so my eyes don't look, and then she said like a slur. Like, you're literally, there's no way to interpret that as anything but derogatory, because you're literally like, my eyes look this way so I need to fix it, while using a slur. That'd be a fucked up thing to say without a slur. Like, my eyes look too Asian or whatever, but then it fucked up. Right. Okay. So she gets a bunch of backlash. So anyway, Sierra gets kicked off the villa. I'm recording this Sunday night. So like, today's episode, Sunday, the 6th of July. The 6th of July, that's the last episode that I've seen when I'm recording this. By the time this episode goes live, a few more episodes will probably, at least one more episode will be out. So I just want a disclaimer, because I'm like, anyways. So Sierra, they announced that she had left the villa for personal reasons, right? Obviously it's because of the backlash. I think it's good that she got removed. I don't condone it. I don't support it. I'm glad that she got removed. But anyways, all of that to say, now Nicolandria is kind of a thing again. And it's just like this thing where, like, again, maybe I'm a hater, and to the people who are rooting for them, like, I'm happy for you. I just do not think I consume reality TV in that same way, because I'm like, he didn't like her enough to leave Sierra in the first place. He's with her now by default, and like, maybe there's chemistry there, and like, could that turn into something? Maybe. But like, I am just not sold on their love story. I'm not. Maybe I'm a hater. Like, I don't know. Again, maybe I'm just a hater, but of all the couples right now, I'm not buying into them, because it feels like the people are so rooting for them because they've like created this story in their heads about like their arc, and they always were drawn to each other and attracted to each other, and they had this chemistry, and it never quite worked out, and people are like placing all of these like tropes and like projecting storylines into this real life dynamic that I don't really feel like is there. Again, they have chemistry. They seem to get along well. I see it. I see the vision. I feel like that's what it is. I feel like it's a vision. I feel like it's like fan fiction that people are writing, and then like, maybe I'm a hater, but I'm just like, even like Chris and Huda's dynamic, Amaya and Brian is very new, but like, even Shelly and Ace, which I wouldn't vote, but like, the other couples just feel more like real to me. And maybe Nick and Alandria will really soar. Maybe now that they're like a solid couple and there's no outside things, they will actually. But it just kind of feels like they got pushed together. Sierra got removed, and now Nick, once again, they're pushed together. And it just feels like, do I think that he likes her? Yes. Do I think maybe he even likes her and they're more compatible than he is with Sierra? Possibly. I don't know these people. Maybe they are a better match. For me, it's just like, he didn't, and again, it was probably a strategic thing where he was thinking, I am solid with Sierra. Alandria doesn't seem super into me. I'm going to stick with the sure thing, Sierra, right? We've been together for a long time. This is like the next step, because they closed off after the whole Alandria Cosmo Moore thing. So it's like, it's hard, because I'm like, do I think on some of it was strategic? Yes. But I also, that makes me not want to root for them more, because I would want to root for a couple where the guy wouldn't care if it would screw him up strategically. He would go for the girl that he's meant to be with. Like, to me, and again, it's just like, I don't know. That's just not romantic to me. Like, it's not romantic to me. Their story isn't romantic to me, of like, we keep getting thrown together. Let's see what this is about. I'm like, okay, they have chemistry. I see the vision. Again, I just feel like that's all it is a vision, is like an idea. And I'm just like not investing in ideas. I'm sorry. Okay. There's a vision, but is there actually anything tangible to substantiate that vision? I don't know. I don't see it. Is it there? Potentially. So I don't know. That's my potentially controversial take about Nicolandria. I don't remember because I Again, it's been so long. I want to talk about Amaya because I feel like the last time I spoke, or maybe the time before, I don't know. One of the last times I spoke, I was like, honestly, I don't think I ever disliked Amaya, but she wasn't my favorite, and she very quickly became my favorite. And I do want her to win. I feel like because of the ideas and the, stories people have created in their head and like the tropes that Nick and Andrea fall into and like the just narrative, right, that people have created around this couple that is frankly, there's not much there. Sorry, maybe I'm a hater. Anyways, and again, I'm not saying that this couldn't blossom into something. I just feel like with what we have, so far what we have is they both got sent home and it was couple up or leave. So they coupled up. They explored it and he didn't care enough to like continue to explore it and to risk what he had in order to explore it. Why am I going to care about them? So anyways, I do feel like they might win because of just the narrative arc of it. And the other couples, there aren't many that have been like around as long. Obviously Nick and Alandria are a new couple, but individually they've been in the villa longer than like Huda and Chris. People barely know Chris. Amaya and Brian, people love Amaya, but like, are they going to think of it like in terms, again, of this like vision, this romance? I feel like if they do, then they'll lean towards voting for Nick and Alandria over like Amaya and, even like Taylor and Clark. Like Nick and Alandria are like the two OGs like that are a couple now, I guess, besides Ace and Shelly. But Ace is not liked by the audience based off of the episode where America voted on things, which I don't blame them because Ace is like, anyways. But anyways, okay, sorry, I'm going on all these tangents. But Amaya, I was on her side with the whole Ace thing because I feel like he came at her. But I honestly, I don't know. The Amaya thing, I have to be honest, she didn't click for me until she did. And then I was like, you know what? I love her. I think it was when she started singing that I was like, you know what? I love her. She was paired up with Austin and I was like, get out of there. Austin's gone. God bless America. Or actually, God bless the Dominican Republic where Amaya's from. Fuck America. No, I'm kidding. I never said that. America's my friend. I don't know. Amaya, I really like Amaya, but she just kind of didn't have the best luck. Then a new bombshell came in, Zach. She paired up with him. They seemed to be good. She even had a conversation with him about like, hey, what are your boundaries with things like Babe? Because the whole thing with her and Ace, which again, I was on her side because it kind of like was so, like, I don't know. He was like, don't call me Babe. We barely know you. And the way he spoke to her, horrible. So they had a thing and then that ended very quickly. Then she was paired up with Austin and I was like, get her out of this. Zach comes in, he seems to be all cute and good and they seem to be like chill, right? Not like immediately like soulmates, anything that intense, but they seem to be getting along well. He seemed like a nice guy. Then they have this thing, which I touched on previously, where they like write postcards and somebody, I can't remember who, maybe it was Ace, writes a thing about how Amaya comes on too strong and like a bunch of the guys pile on. Like Austin agrees and piles on. Ace piles on. Then Zach piles on and is like, and says that he felt uncomfortable. Zach piles on and says that he felt uncomfortable. Sorry, if you hear any noise, my foster kittens are going crazy. So anyways, he piles on and he's like, yeah, you kind of did come on too strong and we kissed sooner than I would have wanted or stuff like that. He says this in public, mind you. She had already had a conversation of like, if I'm coming on too strong or too fast, let me know, because this is a critique that she has heard in the house unnecessarily, because calling somebody Babe right away doesn't have to be a big deal. Like it's not like I'm calling you my husband, okay? I'm not saying I love you. Like I don't know. Maybe and Brian defended her by being like, this is just very Hispanic, like household. You say mi amor, maybe that. And like, yeah, maybe that's why to me it's like not that weird. I also went to college in the Midwest and like strangers would be like, honey, like who cares? Who cares? Do I think that there is a moment where like, as a woman, a man being like sweetheart or honey, like that is a little weird? Yes. Because of like condescending, like context obviously matters, but like somebody just calling you babe or sweetie or whatever in this context, it's like it doesn't need to be a big deal. And the way he reacted to that obviously was really bad. And also I found out, I don't remember, I saw this on Twitter, so it may not be true, but apparently a lot of them, the men, a lot of them had their opinions of Amaya formed because of what Ace was saying, and he apparently made her out to seem like really crazy and got really attached really fast. But anyways, they piled on to Amaya. Brian defended her, and now they're paired up and they seem cute, and I'm really rooting for them. I love Amaya. I think, like she always says, like, if she always says things like, if I'm not your cup of tea, don't drink it, and I love that, because I feel like for a little while my taste buds hadn't warmed up, and now they have, and she is my cup of tea. And I just feel like she got dealt a really shitty hand, and I think it's starting to get better. And I'm really glad that in the America's Vote kind of thing, she like realized and found out how much people love her, because I love Amaya, and it made me very deeply sad, everything that she was dealing with because of like the pylon and basically them telling her like, you're coming on too strong. And I just like really hate that kind of, do I think that there is do I think there is a quote unquote coming on too strong? Maybe, yes. I also just think, and maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, I've never been in a relationship, but I just feel like sometimes it's not that somebody's coming on too strong, it's just that you're not the person for them, so it feels like, you know what I mean? Like, and again, I do think that there is a quote unquote coming on too strong. Like, maybe don't Ted Mosby somebody and tell somebody you're falling in love with them. Like, obviously, because like love bombing is a thing. But like, just coming on too strong, I feel like to me is just like, then I'm just not for you. Like, we're not, because the right person won't feel like you're coming on too strong. They'll feel, it'll make sense, Again, love bombing, realistic things. People, if you're telling somebody like they're the love of your life when you know them right away, obviously, like, that's not what I'm talking about. But I just Amaya, the only thing that she came on too strong, quote unquote, is like the babe thing, and then like being emotional, and it's like, that's not her coming on too strong. She's right, like, she's just not their cup of tea. So instead of like drinking it and spitting it out and being like, this tea is disgusting, realize that there's a tea for you that you will find delicious, and that she will be somebody's cup of tea. Like, I really do appreciate that general sentiment. And yes, she says it in funny ways sometimes by being like, I love all those memes. It's like, if these shoes don't fit, then don't, like, if I'm not the shoe for you, don't wear me, or whatever. Like, she says really funny things like that. But like, the general sentiment is true. It's like, it's not necessarily about like, she's coming on too strong. You're not the right fit, and that's okay without you telling her she's doing something wrong. You know what I mean? And I appreciated Brian being like, you're not doing anything wrong. Like, instead of them telling her that she was doing something wrong, they could have just been like, she's not for me, and kept it pushing. Like, the weird, you're doing too much, and the piling on, that made me really sad. And then when she talked to Zach the next day, being like, you're a very odd individual. And then they find out that she's popular, and suddenly Zach is interested in Amaya again. You are a very odd individual, and I don't want to speak to you again, Zach. He's also gone. God bless. And I like Brian. I like the shared heritage. I do think that, and obviously no culture, no people, like, it's not a homogenous, like, I'm not talking like about every single Latino person, but I do think that there is a layer of Amaya that a lot of them were missing because they don't like understand Hispanic culture. And I appreciate somebody like standing up for her and like getting her, even like the too emotional, or the, you know what I mean? Like, Amaya feels very much like, I'm glad she has somebody who understands. I did appreciate that. But anyways, I wanted to talk about Ace and Shelly. Shelly was obviously interested in Chris. And then, oh my God, okay, I remember. I'm so sorry. I knew that there was a piece that was lost in my brain about why they ended up piling on Huda, because it wasn't just about Chris. So basically, they come back from Casa Amor. Shelly is like between Chris and Ace still. And so they're like not closed off. She's still interested in pursuing them. Then there's a challenge, and Huda goes like very strong in making out with Ace. And everybody's like, she went too far, she went too far, she went too far. I disagree, okay? One, they're not closed off, which apparently in Love Island, again, this is my first season. That's like when you're like a couple, you're done exploring. They're not even closed off. She's still pursuing somebody else. And it's a challenge. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm not saying people can't have boundaries, but like, anyways, I don't know. Maybe it was too much for her. I think what got me is like, if she did feel a certain way and she was like, oh, that was too far, Huda was never like, it's a challenge, it doesn't matter. She was from like immediately from the jump, like, I'm sorry. I don't want to upset you, Shelly. I care so much about you. I'm sorry. And Shelly wasn't like, seemingly wasn't super receptive to the apology. That's what caught me off guard, because I think it's totally valid to feel a certain way and be like, I actually didn't like that. And then like, you can establish a boundary with Ace and be like, hey, let's not go that hard in competitions, or establish boundaries with like your friends being like, hey, I know Ace and I aren't closed off, but like, we have been solid, and it like, whatever. For me, the part that really did bother me about the whole Shelly and then the rest of them kind of piling on to Huda and bringing up the Chris situation kind of to pile on, was that Huda seemed apologetic from the beginning. And then it, like, I don't know. That really did bother me, I have to be honest, because it's like, again, you can feel a certain type of way, but she wasn't like defensive or angry or like, oh, no, like, you're wrong for feeling that way. She was like sorry from the beginning, and then Shelly just like doubled down. And then in the challenge they brought up like, not only did you go really hard on Ace, but like, you're pursuing Chris, which is odd because you said that you brought him back for Shelly, not just for yourself, blah 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 blah. It's like, that really did bother me, because I'm like, one, it was a challenge. It's not like she started pursuing Ace at all. Shelly knew that Huda was interested in Chris from the beginning. That wasn't like suddenly something that she started talking to him. It was all very odd and confusing to me. They piled on to her. Obviously, then things got more dramatic. And I feel like the thing is, I understand, again, I just feel like it escalated to a point where it's like, she was sorry, you can just apologize. Like, it doesn't need to become this big thing of like, Huda's not a girl's girl. I don't really see how she's not, or like how that whole thing really did bother me. I wasn't really on either person's side in the Ace Shelly thing, because I understand maybe on paper him being like, we're not closed off, so like, why are you mad about what I'm doing in a challenge when you're still pursuing Chris? I understand that on paper, but there's just something about Ace that like, the way he approaches things and communicates is so consistently like horrible that I can't be on his side. I can't be on his side, because he's like, he said something like, how does it make me look that like, she's still exploring, but then I have to like limit, like, you know, like, it wasn't, I'm unclear about our boundaries because you're still pursuing somebody, like, we're not closed off. I didn't know we had those expectations. It's about appearances. It's like, it makes me look bad if you're still pursuing something, but I can't even kiss somebody in a challenge like hard enough. Like, it wasn't about, like, it was weird. So I was on her side, but also like not super on her side, because I mean, the thing is, I think people have the right to have their boundaries, and I think she has the right to be pursuing Chris and then still be like, hey, Ace, could you not like super hard make out with my friends in challenges? That doesn't feel that crazy to me, because people have their boundaries, and like, maybe she would, even if it was like a real connection that he had, it would be different, and she'd be like, pursue that. But just like, for a challenge, there's no reason to go that hard, you know? Like, maybe there are different categories in her brain, and like the emotional aspect of it changes it. Like, it's like, oh, you're just making out with her, like, you don't even like her, it's just like for the shock value. Like, who knows? I don't really care. Ace just has a horrible way of communicating. I also hate when a short king kind of gives bitter, or like has a chip on his shoulder because he's short. Like, I hate that, okay? We need to stop with the Napoleon complexes, okay? Being short doesn't have to be a thing, okay? I took human growth hormone. They should have just given that to Ace. No, I'm kidding. But anyways, so like, I don't really know. I'm not super rooting for them either, just because I don't really like Ace anymore. I liked him as a character on my TV for a while. I don't really care. I'm really invested in the Huda Chris of it all, because he seems to be like a really rational person, and like like, I don't know. I like Chris. We know very little of him, but I've enjoyed what I've seen. And I think just it's a huge difference in this dynamic versus what she had with Jeremiah. Like, she just seems a lot more like grounded and calm around Chris. And honestly, to me, that just confirms my perspective on the Jeremiah Huda situation, that a lot of people felt very strong about Huda and like putting all of these things on her and like deciding that she is something or has some diagnoses because of the way she acted with Jeremiah. And I think what her dynamic with Chris has made it clear to me, or even the other guy who like said something weird and then she just kind of like was done with that. Honestly, Huda's behavior moving like so far since Jeremiah's left has really confirmed to me, like, my perspective of the situation wasn't that like there was something wrong with Huda or even like that Jeremiah was like a bad guy. I don't think they meshed well. And I think that like that was my take on the Huda Jeremiah situation. I don't think that it was like all on Huda or even all on Jeremiah either. I think they just like they were, you know, sometimes people aren't good for each other and you trigger like, you know, anyways. So I think it's been nice seeing a very calm side of Huda, and I do enjoy the dynamic with Chris. Maya Papaya, my number one, love her so dearly. If there's only one person I follow of this season, it will be her. The Nick and Sierra, I've talked about that too much, like, for a while. I know I said that I wasn't really invested in Nick and Alandria, but I also wasn't that invested in Nick and Sierra. Like, they didn't feel like they really had it either. You know what I mean? Like, enough for me to ship it. I don't really ship people on reality TV because I'm like, they're not going to last. Nine times out of 10. So I don't really get invested in showmances, if you will. I guess on Love Island, they're not called showmances because the whole thing is them dating, right? Or showmances only like in other shows, like competition shows where like a romance. Anyways, I do like Huda and Chris just because I enjoy Huda. I enjoy Huda. I am a defender. Not, again, when I am like a defender of somebody, fictional or a real person on TV, I'm not like blanket, like, you know, those comments on like TikTok videos where they're like, they could never make me hate you. I don't feel that way about like literally anybody except my sister. They could never make me hate my sister. Like, no matter what she did, they couldn't make me hate her. People I don't know on TV, they could make me hate you. I mean, not really, because I don't like hating people, but it's like I don't blindly support anybody. Like Sierra, I enjoyed. I found her to be really interesting. I liked the way that she seemed very strategic in a way that I enjoyed watching. But as soon as I found out that she had said racist things, I don't care about her anymore. You know what I mean? Why did I go on that tangent? I don't remember what I was talking about. They could never make me hate you. But like Amaya Papaya, love her so dearly. I think if there's one person that I will like follow, it will be her from this season. I like Shelly. I like Alandria. I don't really like any of the men that much. I like Chris and I like Brian just because of the way they've treated their respective partners. Oh, I remember now, Huda. I'm a Huda defender, but not in the sense that like there's nothing she could do that I would like turn on her. I have limits and I'm not going to support people who don't align. Like, I just, you know, I'm not going to send people hate. I don't believe in that, like, piling on to people, but I will, like, unfollow or just, like, disengage when I don't like what somebody's putting out there, right? So I'm a Huda defender, again, not in the sense that I will, like, justify her bad behavior, but I'm a Huda defender in the sense that, like, people really hated her and started, like, saying she had this, that, and the other, and I was like, I'm not gonna write her off, and I enjoy it. She's funny. Like, what do you mean? My dream date, they were sitting on the beach. That's so funny. She's funny. I enjoy her on TV. I think she's lovely, and it's been really nice. Like, she's a very interesting, lovely, like, you know, to watch on my television. And it's been really nice to see, like, changes, you know, and see many dimensions to Huda. And I don't feel like who she was in her relationship with Jeremiah is who she is as a person. And I've really enjoyed that. I really have. There is a YouTuber who I'm subscribed to on YouTube, but I also follow her on Instagram. and she was a teen mom, and she posted on her Instagram story about like how she really like related to Huda, and how like that Huda's thought process and like reactions made a lot of sense to her, because that is very much like who she was before she matured a little bit, because like now she's in her 30s and her daughter is like an adult. And that really gave me an appreciation for Huda, because again, I don't think that people's traumas, like you shouldn't yell at people the way she did to Jeremiah. You shouldn't. That was wrong of her to do. But I do have compassion for Huda and everything she's been through. And I just like, I don't know. I do think that I have love in my heart for Huda. I wish her the best in whatever route her life takes. And she's great television. Like, she's so entertaining, and I love that for her. What can I say? There are a few people I don't really like, of the women that I don't really like. I can't think of any. There are some people I don't remember, like Iris and then Hannah. I could not tell them apart for the life of me. I'm so sorry. I don't remember who's who. And no hate to either of them. They're just both blonde, white girls that haven't made much of an impact for me personally. And in terms of the men, I dislike most of them. So Ace is an interesting person to watch on TV. I don't really vibe with his personality. Like, I find him like so annoying, but because I find him annoying, I appreciate what he brings to the TV. Taylor's an interesting one, because I really didn't feel like he liked Delandria much. And then he kind of proved that. But he did so really, really horribly. Like, he could have gone about it a lot smoother. America did punish him for it by, like, voting him. Poor Clark, she didn't do anything to deserve that. She was just guilty by association. But yeah, I don't know. I hope Amaya wins, but I do feel like the Nicolandria stands will... Like, I feel like Nicolandria will win because, again, of the idea, the people... Whatever. Like, they're more of like a concept than they are a real ship, you know? That's my take on Nicolandria. Okay, that's all I wanted to say about Love Island. Now on to the Ultimatum Queer Love Season 2. So when I had planned to record this episode, like when I was going to record last weekend before I left for Maryland, because I went on a trip to Maryland. I left Monday morning. So about a week ago, I was like, I'll record on Sunday, I'll record on Saturday. And then I didn't end up recording before I left. Anyways, when I was thinking of recording this, I was like, I'll record like the first drop, my thoughts on the first drop of the Ultimatum Queer Love Season 2. But now the whole season's out, which is great because I can just kind of talk about the whole thing. It was a really interesting season because, and I don't really remember the Ultimatum Queer Love Season 1 super vividly, but I feel like this season, more than others, like more than the last one, there was a very even split of like couples that seem like there's no interest at all, or like it's just platonic. Like, there's no real threat to like the relationship they came in with. And then some that seem like it felt like a very clear divide, where the Ultimatum Queer Love Season 1, the couples that came in felt all kind of shaky. And for the most part, it did feel like there was like potential there for, you know what I mean? Like, this season felt a lot more like a lot of them were taking it as like an experience to grow. And then the like handful of couples that felt like, oh, wow, there might actually be something here with their trial partner. It switched immediately when they went back to their original partners in a way that was so interesting and weird. And I feel like different from season 1. Maybe I'm misremembering season 1, or even like the straight versions of the Ultimatum. Like, I feel like this season, the like couples went back to their original partner and were like, I'm cutting it off with my trial partner completely. Like, clean break. We're not in each other's lives. That, you know, in a way that was really, really interesting to watch, because specifically like Megan, Dana, Haley, Megan, Dana. Megan came in with Dana, right? And I really did not think that they were a particularly strong couple. Like, some of the couples came in, and I'm like, okay, there's history here. I get it. I see there's a rough patch, but I can see why you want to work through it. Dana and Megan, I have to be honest, based off of like the first few episodes, I was like, why are they even together? They were together for 2.5 years. I'm not saying that's no amount of time. I've never been in a relationship. That would be a long time for me. Again, never been in a relationship. So like, I'm not saying 2.5 years isn't much, but it's like they seem so wildly not on the same, like they did not seem to be on the same page at all. And I was like, you haven't invested enough. Like, I don't know. It didn't feel like you're the one for each other for me from the beginning. And again, this is a TV show. I don't know these people. I wish them all the best in their relationships. I'm not saying that they're doomed, okay? I'm not, who am I? The god of prophecy? Like, no. Love you, Apollo, if you're listening. Who am I kidding? Of course he is. He's a god. So anyways, they didn't seem like a couple to me where I was like, okay, yeah, you seem solid. Like you're gonna, like Bridget and Kyle, they came in and I was like, I don't really feel like there's, there was a moment there where Bridget was kind of really flirty with AJ in the like week dating thing where like they dated for a week, where I was like, maybe, but then AJ paired up with somebody else and like that never became anything. So like Bridget and Kyle, like that didn't really feel like, that felt like something that could, like, I don't know, Megan and Dana to me didn't make sense. Like from the beginning, I wasn't feeling that they were going to last. And then Megan got into a trial relationship with Haley and they like fell in love, like fully were like, I'm in love with you. I'm in love with you. Fully having sex, openly saying we're having sex, because Dana, who was Megan's original partner, was in a trial marriage with Mel and like allegedly they had sex, but they weren't like, we went all the way. They're like, they've denied it still. And who cares? I don't care. That's between them and their partners and whatever. There was like moaning sounds intercut, but that's all that we've seen, obviously. Anyways, so what was I saying? Okay, so Megan and Haley, like it felt like real. Like they really cared about each other. They grew. They talked about how they'd never been in a relationship where everything was so easy. Like they were just always on the same page. And it was just like, they were on the same wavelength. And it seemed like they were really compatible and like it made sense. And I was like, wow, there's something here. I thought, okay, maybe Haley and Megan don't like become a thing. But I really thought that like Megan and Dana weren't going to become a thing after. Because Dana was like lying about having sex with Mel. Dana got tattoos with Mel. Meanwhile, Megan is feeling like understood and an ease in a relationship that she hasn't had before with this new person. I was like, there's no way that Megan goes back to Dana. Like, they're just so not compatible. And after, like, I can't imagine being in a relationship for 2.5 years and there's like a base level of like conflict and misunderstanding and tension. And then you meet somebody and it clicks and everything's easy. And you spend like a month together where you're just on the same wavelength as somebody. And like they push you and you like overcome hurdles you haven't been able to overcome in your original relationship. Because a big thing of Megan's was like her relationship with her family and struggling with that. And like she just, by the end of her time with Haley, was a lot more comfortable with herself. And like there was a big change in Megan that Haley brought on. Like, I don't understand how you then go back to Dana. Like, I find it very confusing. And again, this is a TV show. We only see a fraction of their lives. It's also a weird environment. So maybe their dynamic is shown in a way that isn't true, but it just doesn't feel, it didn't make sense to me. I really did not see that coming. I thought that they were at the minimum, because the ultimatum in the past, from my recollection, there are times where like you have a good trial relationship, and even if you're like, that person's not the person for me, it makes you realize that the person you came in with isn't the person for you. And I thought that was gonna at least be Megan and Dana's conclusion, but it wasn't. I also, like, I was honestly a little bit unsure if Megan and Haley would become a thing, because Haley came in with Pilar and they had been together for 10 years, right? And to me, of all the couples, they seem like the one that I was like, if they don't break up, like, I feel like that makes the most sense of like why you wouldn't give up. Not that I think you should give up on the person. I mean, I just feel like 9 times out of 10, if you're like confused enough in your relationship to go on a show like this, then like I don't feel like you should be together. But that's, and again, I'm not saying every single time, and people can push through hard moments. I've never been in a relationship. Who am I to talk? I don't know. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. Like, I feel like if I was questioning that badly enough to put myself in this weird ass situation, I'd be like, I don't want to, like, this isn't worth it. But Haley and Pilar, I'm like, okay, they've been together for 10 years. There's a lot of weight there. Pilar also was dealing with some tension with her family, not accepting her. And stuff like that, where it's like, okay, I get it. There's like, Pilar's biggest obstacle wasn't even like her dynamic with Haley. It was kind of, they had been together for 10 years. The first 8 years, she was closeted. Her parents didn't know that she was in a relationship with Haley. She comes out only a couple years ago, and they don't accept her. Obviously, I would understand, you've been with somebody for a decade, and then you're like, okay, I'm serious about them, I'm going to tell my parents, and then your parents don't accept it, and now you're like, the dreams you had for like your future family with your in-laws, or not with your in-laws, but like your family, your extended family, the families coming together, like, you know, you have a vision for your wedding where your parents are there, and it becomes like a whole, like, the families combine as marriages are often described, you know, like, I understand why. For Pilar, it seemed like it was less about like unsure about being with Haley and more about unsure about like wanting to get married at this point, because the wedding and the marriage wasn't going to be what she imagined, because her home life and her relationship with her parents wasn't what she had imagined it would be. That makes a lot of sense to me. And I had like, they were a couple that I was like, it makes sense to me if they get back together and they like get engaged. Like, I wasn't, like, for me, I was like, I don't know if Haley and Megan will be a thing, because Haley and Pilar have such a history, you know? I didn't think that it would be so heavily, I didn't think Megan would be the one who would very harshly cut Haley off. Megan was like immediately cutting her off in a way that was really confusing to me and very odd. And like, there was just, like, it was honestly very confusing to me, the way the whole thing happened. And I felt like I missed something. Like, I listened to a podcast recapping it, and they were just as confused as I was, and I was really, like, glad, because I was, like, I was worried that I missed something, because it felt like there was a huge switch in Megan in a way that was, like, out of nowhere, seemingly. It was very, very odd, like, genuinely odd to me, and so, like, I don't know, but I think 5 of the 6 couples got engaged at the end. The only one that didn't was, they're not all together. Mel, who was trial partners with Dana, Mel came in with Marie, and Marie and Mel got engaged, but they're not together as of a year later, which is when the reunion was filmed. The one couple that didn't get engaged at all, they broke up at the Ultimatum day. Honestly, from their introduction, I was like, I don't even think, like, it's not even that she doesn't want to marry you. I don't even think you guys want to be together. Like, there was like a base level of like animosity and tension that felt palpable to me. It was like Marita and Ashley. I was like, I don't even feel like you guys like each other anymore. Like, there's just like a base level of like, I'm not getting what I want. You're not giving me what you want. And then Ashley's like, oh, I'm sorry. It was like the least surprising to me that they didn't end up together. I will say at the reunion, like, they got into a pretty like explosive, maybe explosive is too dramatic, but like they yelled at each other, and it was like very intense. And I was like, that's not surprising to me based off of like the base level passive aggressive like animosity of like digs. Like, it was so uncomfortable to watch their relationship from the beginning, because I'm like, you guys just don't like each other. Why are you still together? I don't know. Again, I've never been in a relationship. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe I'm just like, I can't imagine, because I haven't ever liked anybody enough or cared enough, gotten to a point where I'm like that invested in somebody where I'm like, okay, we're gonna like be, you know, we're gonna date long term, that I can't imagine at this point in my life, with like how much I have not prioritized that. I can't imagine prioritizing being in a relationship or like that doesn't make any sense to me. I would rather leave. I'm like, we are not meant to be together, and that's okay. I don't want to spend my time, like, I don't remember, I saw somebody say this, but it's like, the way you spend your days is the way you spend your life. I didn't invent that, okay? Somebody said that. And that's so true. That's so true. And I just would not want to spend my days miserable and like not fulfilled in a relationship. I'd rather be alone. Like, I think if there's one thing that I'm grateful for, sometimes I feel like, oh, I'm a late bloomer. I'm 26. I've never been in a relationship. Yada, yada, yada. I judge myself. I'm like, am I missing out on something? But I will say the one thing that I am really grateful for about the fact that I've never been in a relationship is that I genuinely am fine being alone. Like, I would not invest my time or like stay in a situation or a relationship just because I wanted the company, because I am comfortable and used to and like good being alone. And obviously I'm not alone. I have like, you know, people in my life, but I mean like in my day-to-day, like I don't have like a partner. And do I think maybe once I've never had it, so maybe it'd be easier, but I just feel like I know at the end of the day I have myself, and I, you know, if shit hits the fan, I know that I can figure it out myself, you know, and that's lovely. That's a lovely feeling to have myself to rely on. So like, anyways, what was my point? Oh, I just can't imagine, like, if I was at this much of a standstill, I can't imagine giving somebody an ultimatum, let alone then going on a show to, you know, anyways. So like, I can't imagine that. I can't imagine that. I'd just be like, okay, we don't want the same things. Great. And I don't know, maybe I sound really detached and emotional because I'm only viewing it from it's easier said than done from a bird's eye view when you're in it, you know, emotionally. Who knows how I would react? I do not know. So anyways, I do want to touch very briefly, because I don't have anything else to say about the queer love, the Ultimatum queer love, but I have a little bit more time. So I want to touch very briefly on a show that I just watched yesterday called Sirens. I watched it all in one sitting. I stayed up way too late finishing it. It was really good. I really liked it. Megan Fahey's in it, and I had been interested in watching it for a while, but I had lost access. I lost access a little bit ago to my family's Netflix, but I got it back to watch Ginny and Georgia. If you were following my Netflix journey, I got it back, and so I finally got around to watching this show, Sirens, and I watched it all in one sitting, and it was really, really good. And I really liked, spoiler for this series, I really liked the way it kind of came full circle. Like, it was really interesting the way that Simone kind of became her boss, if that makes sense. If you've seen the show, you'll get what I'm saying, and if you haven't, this makes no sense to you. But basically, it's about two sisters, one who is an assistant for a really like wealthy woman. So her sister goes and finds her, and she's like, "You're in a cult. This, you know, your job is your life and everything." And it's a really interesting show. Their dynamic with each other, the ways that because they had a very traumatic childhood. Their mom tried to kill herself, and the older sister, who is not the one who works, like the older sister is still living in Buffalo with their father, who now like has dementia, I believe. So she's like, she kind of takes care of him, and her younger sister is off working at this, like with this fancy woman. But they had like a very difficult childhood, and it's just very interesting to see like how different they are. Like their dynamic was so fascinating. I really feel like that's the core of the show. They have a very interesting, almost Gilmore Girls-esque relationship, but obviously different because like they're sisters. But basically their mom died, and then their dad got really depressed and neglected. The older sister went to college, and the father was caring for the younger sister, and he was very depressed and neglected her, and she ended up in foster care. So the older sister dropped out of college and raised her younger sister. Her younger sister went to Yale, and then is now like working at this fancy place, while the older sister, Megan Fahey's character, stayed behind. And it's just very interesting, their dynamics. And I really liked the setting of the show too. It was like on this island in a really aesthetically pleasing way. Her boss, like the younger Simone's boss, she works with like falcons in a conservatory in a way that I thought was really cool and interesting, and I love birds. I will say, okay, one minor critique, complaint, I don't know, something I didn't love about the show, because basically, spoiler for the whole thing, she ends up dating her boss's husband, and she kind of becomes the new Mrs. whatever his name was, who's Cal, I think is his last name, and like throughout the whole series, there's like a big talk of like the first Mrs. Kell, right? She's nowhere to be found. There's rumors that Simone's boss, Michaela, she calls her Kiki, killed the first wife. She didn't. We find out at the end of the series she did not kill the first wife. But there's kind of a like full circle moment where Simone kind of becomes the new Mrs. Kell. She kind of takes Michaela's place the way Michaela took the first wife's place. And while I find that to be interesting, I will be honest, it kind of, in my opinion, came out of nowhere. Or not out of nowhere, but I just wish there had been a bit more building up to it. Because for me, like the relationship that he had with Simone, the Michaela's husband had with Simone, Mr. Kell, the relationship they had to me didn't feel very, like I didn't, like it he kissed her at some point, and I was like, and maybe like the actors didn't have chemistry or something. I don't know. But to me, it really felt very fatherly. And then suddenly he was kissing her, and she was like not for it. But then she lost her job because a photographer had taken a photo of the kiss. And Michaela was like, you're a threat to my marriage, so you need to leave. And then Simone ends up with him. That was a little, like, I think it's interesting in theory of, like, the whole mythology of this character and, like, her whole backstory and, like, the rumors of her relationship to the first wife. And also when we find out her backstory of, like, she was an attorney and she gave up her career and, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's interesting aspects of, like, who that character is and who she became and, like, the role she played. And then Simone kind of taking that role. That was interesting. Honestly, for me, it just fell flat because I was like, I don't really see where her relationship with Mr. Kell came from. Like, that felt a little bit sudden to me. Like, their relationship didn't feel like charged or like he was interested in her in that capacity at all until he was. And, like, I wish that had been explored a little bit more. Like, a big plot line for Simone is that she is secretly dating Mr. Kell, I can't remember his name, his best friend, who's like his same age, so an old guy as well. Not the, whatever, significantly older than her. Maybe there would have been an interesting thing where it was like, because when Michaela and her husband find out that Simone's been having a relationship with their friend, Michaela's upset because she has a weird relationship with Simone, but Mr. Kell doesn't. Like, he seems completely fine. He doesn't seem like, I wish there had been some kind of implication that he had some kind of attachment to Simone. That was never really implied. He was kind of like, you shouldn't be so close to Simone, she's your employee. Like, it felt kind of sudden to me. I understand why she took that role, but on his end, it kind of felt like, I don't know. I understood that he didn't really care for his wife. Like Devin, that's Simone's older sister, who's played by Megan Fahey. Devin's played by Megan Fahey, to be clear. Devin and Mr. Kell have like a bit of a friendship where like he smokes and like, you know, she smokes with him, and they have like a like banter that I just didn't feel like the Mr. Kell interest in Simone felt like it came out of nowhere. Like she helped him clam, and then suddenly, like, am I crazy? Me talking as if, anyways, if you've seen the show, let me know if you agree, because I understand Simone taking on that role and kind of like, you know, the student becoming the teacher in whatever. I understood that, but to me, the Mr. Kell showing interest in her felt a little bit sudden. But I liked it. Megan Fahey did a great job. I love her. She's such a good actress, and I really liked her role in this. And I mentioned this, and then I kind of lost my train of thought. But they have a very Gilmore Girls-esque relationship where Megan Fahey is kind of like, I gave up my life so you could have a good life. And obviously Lorelai, that's different. There are different circumstances, but it's still very much like, when you had that maternal, like, I put you first so you could have everything and look at you. And also, I think maybe she also went to Yale. So in my mind, it's anyways. But I really liked Megan Fahey's character in this and the way that she's like, I worked really hard to give you, like, I came back. I left. Because there's a moment where Simone's kind of like, I don't blame you for, like, not wanting to go back to your life. Like, it sucks there. And she's like, I did leave. I went back for you. I went back because I'm a good sister and I didn't want you to be in foster care. Like, I really like Devin as a character. She's one of my favorite characters that I've watched recently. Like, Megan Fahey's performance in that and the character and, like, her, like, I really liked the character and I really enjoyed the show. I do recommend it. It's called Sirens. I don't know if I mentioned that, but I think I did. Anyways, that's all I wanted to talk about this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you have a great week. You will hear from me sometime next week with a Big Brother recap, and then Yellow Jackets deep dive coming somewhat soon-ish, I promise. I think next week I will conclude, or soon, because this episode's going out Monday or Tuesday, so I don't know. I'll see when I record, but, like, I'll do a Big Brother check-in, like, beginning of Big Brother mixed with end of Love Island episode, I think, and then from there on, because Big Brother, the first week is always kind of weird because it's not, like, a full week-ish. So we'll do kind of like an introduction to Big Brother, like Big Brother is back so far, and then also concluding Love Island, and that will be one episode. That'll be the next episode. And then after that, I'll have, like, weekly recaps of what happened in Big Brother. So thank you so much for tuning in. It means a lot. Hope you have a great week. You'll hear from me soon. Please subscribe. Follow me wherever you listen to podcasts, all that good stuff. Share with a friend. Rate and review if you haven't already. All of that great stuff. Thank you so much. It means a lot. Have a great week.